Welcome to The Life of Hair. My name is James Atkinson. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. Now, this week just gone, I published last week's video on Sunday about trimming invisible layers. And then on Thursday evening, I published a video about curling hair. And then on Sunday, this is the colour part of this client's journey. And I'm going to try and make some more of these where I just take you through the whole journey of a client's visit and kind of segment it and break up each part of the journey. It won't happen every week, that's for sure, but I'm going to try my best to bring to you more of what I do in the salon and on my clients, because I'm a passionate hairdresser. I love being a hairstylist. And I know you guys, most of you are professional hairdressers and, are still doing that shop floor, day in, day out. And I'm totally with you. I just love being a salon stylist. So for me, it's really important that I get to share those things with you. And maybe this is the new way to do that. So I hope you've enjoyed these videos over the last week. And if I get the opportunity to make more content like this, I certainly will. And I'd love to hear from you guys and tell me what you think of this kind of style of going through the whole process and breaking it up into maybe 3 separate videos down in the comment section. But if you've enjoyed it, then do me the massive favor of beating the algorithm and hitting that thumbs up button, but not right now, kind of in 5 minutes time. I know that's a bit strange, but that's how the algorithm works here at YouTube. So, and the other massive thing that you can do, if you haven't already, is subscribe to the channel. It is hugely appreciated. And the people who come back week in, week out and leave comments and support the channel, you guys are amazing. I love it to see those comments popping up in the comment section. I don't get to answer as many of those comments as I used to. They're just overwhelming in numbers these days, but that is a good thing, obviously. And if you want to catch us live, Paul Watts and myself do a live every Wednesday, alternating between each other's channels. So this Wednesday will be over on my channel, 9 p.m. BST. I can just never get that in my head. And don't forget, if you want to get involved in some more kind of deep dive education, then you can become a member of my Patreon, linked down in the description. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you again in the next one. So here's the starting point, and this has been a little while since we've coloured this hair. Lockdowns and all that jazz has kind of prevented my wonderful client getting into my chair for me to redo her hair. And actually it looks okay, it looks fine. She's got a very long level 8 regrowth, and as I mentioned in the previous video about the styling, we have had some white balance color shift issues. This was filmed this week. Had so many technical issues this week, actually it's killing me, but anyway, we will be sorting all these technical issues out as the week goes on. In fact, I've fixed some of them already, especially my live stream, but this is an easy technique. I've done it before so many times on the channel, but it's one of my absolute favorites, and if you haven't seen it, I thought it'd be great to talk you through it again. And if you've seen this, well, feel free to skip past it, but I will probably be giving some more tips and insights that may or may not have heard of before. And these kind of freehand techniques where you use a board or a spatula to create highlights within the hair without foil are some of my absolute favorite techniques. I absolutely love doing these techniques, and at the end of the day, they are just so massively convenient. What we're trying to do with these techniques in this particular instance is just get a couple of levels of lift. I'm using 2 different tints. I'm using an 8 ash with a 20 volume to get 2 levels of lift and a nice controlled cooling on the warm natural hair. Her hair is quite warm naturally, not overtly warm, but there is some warmth to it, and we go to a lot of trouble to quash that warmth in our hair. And then the second color I'm using is a high lift tint on with a titanium tone with 9%, and it's mixed on a 1:2 mixing ratio. And for a whole head with 2 colors, I'll be expecting to mix up probably in the realms of sort of 10 grams of each, maybe 15 grams of each, dependent on the width of each of one of my sections. In this particular instance, I'm using kind of 1 inch roughly 1 centimetre wide sections on each of the sections that I take. And really what we're going to do with this particular look is not just this, but we're going to do my good old trusty friend bass breaker or bump in the bass afterwards as well, to reduce the contrast. Because the contrast, even though it's only a couple of shades, there is a demarcation in the hair. It's about kind of making everything feel more succinct, more blended and more together. So the highlights are massively going to help, obviously, but I don't think the highlights are enough when you've got 6 inches of regrowth and a demarcation in the hair. So it's going to be important for me to do this technique, work through this technique, and then kind of deal with that demarcation by doing the bass breaking technique afterwards, which we're going to look at and talk about in a little bit more detail a bit further on into the video. So hang around for that. But the technique that you're watching now, loads of people, when they see this, if they've never seen it before, they're quite skeptical about it. You know, will it bleed? Will it press? And if you follow these very simple tips and tricks that I'm going to talk to you about now, you will be absolutely bang on with this technique. The first thing we need to remember is that we need to dig down with our section, with our weaves. We need to dig into our section, down and up, down and up, down and up. We're creating tiny little triangles within the section. This is very important because what we need to do is make sure there's enough hair underneath the section that we're painting to, that it doesn't then press onto the colour underneath. That is one of the first and foremost things to remember with this technique. The next thing is that you need to elevate the section with the board just as you're coming up to the root area, or feather with a vertical brush stroke over the lip of the board to make sure you get it as close to the root but not bang on the root, because if you get it bang on the root you could get bleeding from the product leaking onto the root area. And with this particular technique, we're not looking for maximum high contrast results. We're just looking to kind of create a softening throughout the hair to create a blonde effect. We're not looking for turning the hair to platinum. We are creating an illusion, probably is more the better way of thinking about these particular techniques. And by doing this technique with 2 different tint types, one high lift, one normal tint, we're also going to create that kind of fantastic multi-tonality. But then by applying the bass breaker over the top of all of it, we're really going to just merge it all together, and it's going to look like it was her natural hair and she's just been out in the sun and the sun's lifted it, and you know, she never actually had anything done to it. So it's really, really important that we kind of go with that super natural, super soft vibe when we're creating lived in blonde looks, as we see in this one. And for me, lived in blonde is my absolute favorite look of, you know, coloring hair, generally speaking. I love a copper too, but you know, when I'm creating most of my day-to-day work, it's pretty much that lived in blonde vibe. And if I'm not doing that, I'm convincing someone to go to lived in blonde, or I'm turning their, you know, previously pre-colored hair back to a more natural shade. I just love enhancing people's natural hair. To me, to my eye, if you get them close to their natural and really enhance and beautify what they have naturally, they will suit it and they will look absolutely fantastic, and they will live in that hair with much more confidence, and that will just make the whole thing look better. So I always try and take people back to their roots. It's just my nature, and it's something that you may want to try if you're a little bit bored with your clients and you kind of feel like you're really working hard, putting tons of foils in, doing lots of boring root tints. Look, you know, try and offer your clients something that's more akin to their natural. Now, I'm not going to show you the front 2 sections because they're exactly like the back sections. You just work horizontally up to the natural parting. Always work in the natural parting. Now, this is the bass breaker. I'm just applying it in the backwash this time onto damp hair, just spraying it through, working it through, massaging it in. So in the bottle is Redkin Colour Gels plus 20 volume 10 NA plus a tiny drop of 6ABN, which is ash blue natural, a really, really cool shade, of a 40-gram mixing ratio. Only 2 to 3 grams of that total is that 6. We don't want to put any more in there because we'll sink it down, we'll brown it out, and I wanted to just have a little bit more cool tone in there, but I also didn't want to start turning the highlights and the other hair green. So you've got to remember, guys, if you're going to use colours like that are much deeper, they've got much more tone, and they tend to be pushing towards brown. And if you're going to use them, you really need to use them in minute quantities. They can only kind of just help you out a little bit. They can't, you know, if you start upping the ratios, you'll start altering the effects that you're going to achieve. You might ask yourself why I didn't use 9AB. I wanted that 10 level, so when I put that 6 into it, I wasn't going to be dropping it too far. I wanted to drop it down to kind of a 9, bearing in mind that I knew that I was going to probably lift the overall bass just about 1 to 1 and just over 1 levels of lift by using 20 volume. And I didn't leave it on for the full processing time, which is 20 minutes by the manufacturer's guidelines. I only left this on for about 10 minutes just to bump the bass up, as I say, probably 1, just over 1 level, and just to reduce the contrast between the ends and the roots. Now, before I went on to style this, which you actually saw in the video I posted on Thursday night, that this is the finished result. But this is the finished result before I curled it, so you can kind of see the technique in action. There's no kind of definite demarcation from the highlights. There's no specific kind of highlight lines in the hair, because we have brought everything quite close together, and we've created a really nice, very, very, very natural multi-tonal blonde effect that really will just grow out so beautifully. And you know, the demarcation, the regrowth line in the hair will be so minimal in effect. And here's the finished result. You guys have seen this already on Thursday night when I posted my blow dry, how I dried this hair, and blow dry, but how I styled it. Yeah, I did blow dry, but not with a round brush, because I'd just paddle brushed it out to do this split end trimming technique on this particular look. So if you haven't seen anything that I'm talking about, then do head over to my channel right now, or linked at the end of this video will be all of everything that I've just spoke about, the split end trimming and the styling video, and you can catch up on the total look that I mentioned in the beginning of the video. And if you enjoy this style of videos where I do concurrent services on the same person, then do let me know down in the description. It would be wonderful to know what you think of it all. And until next time, or Wednesday maybe, catch me on my channel. I will be comparing Mr. Paul Watts while he will be colouring the mullet that I cut on Wednesday night over on his channel. So if you want to catch up with that, then you can check that out too. I cut a very, very strong mullet shape for Paul to colour this Wednesday over on my channel. So listen, thanks very much, guys. It is always appreciated when you watch all the way to the end, and do look after yourself. Until next time, see you soon.